gosh. Today it's raining cats and dogs. I literally just hopped in the car with a Costco bag for like an umbrella. And you guys can probably hear it. It's just noisy beyond belief right now. But yeah, the end of the day today was really frustrating. I've got to be honest with you. It was just one of those days where you want it to end. We got no breaks. No breaks. It's been raining and foggy on the road, so driving and getting anywhere has been just a challenge. And I felt like doctors were being frustrating to work with today, and they were not helping me to make a clear plan of care. I think sometimes it's really hard to get that. Like sometimes the physician doesn't want to do like the clear thing that the nurses want when we're communicating to the other shift, right? And then I start giving report, and for some reason the nurses that I'm giving report to, they seem to have an attitude, and I don't have problems like this with people. Like, I get along with people, I maintain a positive attitude, and I don't have problems with others in the workplace. So it was really frustrating, to tell you the truth, and I'm thinking about it a lot as I'm on this video. I'm thinking about it a lot and how hard it was for me to let that go. And maybe it's just that I'm processing it, but I feel like it was really unnecessary. But then one of them was kind of being the same way to everyone else. And then the other one, I think people just have their personalities, they have their own things going on. But the other thing that I picked up on is there is almost like a trust building period that you go through whenever you start somewhere new. And this is just the place that I'm in, right? I'm in the first few months of working at a new facility, and people don't know me yet. They don't know if they can rely on me. They don't know if I try to cut corners. I don't, but they don't know that. They have to basically vet me through their own processes to find out if I'm a good one, quote unquote. But all that goes to say, it gets to be really stressful sometimes working in a new place and just building that rapport with people. And these people are the night shift. This is my first time sharing a patient with one of the nurses, and yeah, I guess both of them, but it was just a little bit uncalled for. I felt like the way that they were acting, but I'll get over it, and I'm hoping and praying that things will just smooth out over time as we get to know each other. And I don't know, it's just kind of strange because I never treat anybody poorly like that. I don't ask them questions in a rude way, even if I don't know them, even if I feel like what they did was unclear to me or something. I don't know. So that really rubbed me the wrong way, but I'm grateful I'm not the patient in the hospital at the end of the day. I'm grateful I can walk around and do my job, and I'm grateful I have a job. The people that I worked with all day, I feel like I bonded with them, and I built rapport with the people that I work with on day shift, which is really important because when you're running a code or starting to take care of a patient who is decompensating, like the people who are in the trenches with you, like you definitely do want to be able to trust them. I think it's funny how something negative that caps your day can just make you forget about all the good. I don't want to be that person, so I'm working hard to like toss that off of me, just like throw that off of me. Yeah, I actually had the same patients today, which is great. they were supposed to send one of them to the floor, but they had no beds, so I ended up taking care of a step-down patient, which I don't have a problem with. He basically told me, like, don't worry about him, you've got other things to worry about, and I just kindly reminded him, like, you're one of my patients, and he goes, oh, he had forgotten, so I thought that was kind of cute. And it's just, I am totally drenched. It's just so noticeable as I'm making this vlog. It's been so long since I've been absolutely drenched from like walking a little short distance in the rain. I cannot even remember the last time I've been completely soaked. But it's awful out here. Like, you really have to pay attention because the visibility isn't that great. I'm off for probably the next week or so. I'm gonna go visit my family, and I am excited to be off of work and just kind of enjoying some downtime and reconnecting with my family. They live out of state from me, and so whenever I moved out of state for work, it's made it almost like a little adventure to go see them, which is nice, but then, you know, it's not as easy as just going over to mom's, right? It's not as easy as, you know, you can just show up for a birthday. You have to really strategize it and make sure you're off of work, make sure you've got several $100s to take the flight. And yeah, looking forward to it, and that'll be really rejuvenating after the last month, just really elbows deep in this role and learning this new role. Today I finally felt like, I'd say, less anxiety about, you know, just making sure all my T's are dotted and I's. I said that backwards. All my I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Just, it matters to me to do the best that I can, and to be vigilant is something I feel like is part of my nature in this position. So I always pray that I don't miss anything and that I can make sure the patients get exactly what they need and when. Yeah, I felt quite bad. One of my previous patients I was caring for, get this, you guys will find this interesting. He is elderly. I can't remember how old, but to the point where he's got a lot of chronic issues, to the point where his kidneys, his lungs, and his heart are not functioning the way that they're supposed to. And to the point where our intensivist says he has no kidneys, no lungs, and no heart, which is a funny way to say it, but the point he's trying to make is they don't work right. He needs dialysis to help his kidneys. When the kidneys aren't working right, you need dialysis at some point once it gets bad enough, once you're in the worst kidney failure or at a certain stage of kidney failure. And he needs that to stay alive, and we have to give him medications to support his blood pressure and his heart rate because those are not going well. And then he needs to be on extensive oxygen support measures. I had him the day that he was extubated, and he's been repeatedly on the BiPAP and needing, borderline, like teetering on the edge of needing to go back intubated. Anyway, this man is old. And it's these types of situations where the doctor and all of us are noticing that things aren't really improving the way that we would have hoped with all the interventions that we're doing. And the conversation starts to change. Like, what does the patient want for their future? Do they want to keep doing this? Do they want to be what we call coded, like if their heart stops or they can't breathe, do they want to be intubated or have chest compressions done and do everything possible to try to save their life? And in these situations, the doctor has to do a good job explaining to the family that the chance of surviving those interventions, which are very painful, and, you know, it's scary, and to have those level of interventions be done and then to not survive it is like a painful way to go, rather than if your goals were different. Like in this case, they were trying to figure out Did they want that? Did the patient want that? And the family members were so, I mean, on the first look at them, the first idea, you think, okay, family members are present, they're supportive, but the patient kept saying he wanted everything to be taken away. He wanted to just be done with it all and be taken off the supportive interventions that we're doing to keep him alive. Meaning he's ready to leave this earth. And the wife, sometimes she would hear the patient say it. And she would say, oh no, he's just being negative or something. He doesn't mean that. And then she tells him, no, you're not thinking clearly, basically. And when in fact the patient's wishes was to go. So it was funny because this isn't funny. I'm going to rephrase that. I was thankful that the intensivist, he made a big deal about this in rounds today and wanted an official meeting with the whole family, and he said, I'm going to corner them. And he said, I have a way of doing it, and I'm going to get an answer, a straight answer, and call them out on what they've been saying to the patient, and call them out on what the patient has been expressing. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, and that happened today. So it just really, I think, not that we ever wish anybody to reach this point. This is life. We have a circle of life, end of life, beginning of life. Yes. These patients that we happen to be taking care of a lot of times are at that point where they're reaching that end of life moment in their timeline. But there comes a time where we need to have an honest conversation and take inventory about what is realistically the outcome here. Yes, there's miracles for God's grace, and if it's not your time yet, that God would extend your life supernaturally, of course. But, you know, when it's your time to go and you're artificially extending your life and, you know, there's not much hope, it becomes this thing that weighs on people that are taking care of you. It's like an ethical issue where you want to see the patient be treated with dignity, honesty, and obviously the end of it is their decision, right? The autonomy that they have to make that call. To make that call is really what's going to be it. So we always have to make sure that if the patient is aware and they can make their own decisions, that we have that in writing for them so that everyone is able to go by that. And in the hospital we call that code status, or a post form if they have an official document stating that, and that's been signed by the patient or the guardian and the physician. So it's kind of heavy stuff. Have you guys experienced anything that really stuck with you? I'm curious if anyone watching has just had a situation that really just shook them ethically and they didn't know what to think, or they weren't comfortable with what they think. Sometimes we land there, right? Like, we don't want to be honest with how we feel. It's not our job as healthcare providers to make that. And we have to check our biases too. Even if we think somebody should do something and we would do something different, it's their autonomous decision, and we have to educate them. Together, every single member of the healthcare team has to educate them to make the best decision possible with the information that they have. So yeah, I'm really grateful that that got resolved, because that was making us feel uncomfortable. The conversations we were witnessing, this patient was wanting something different, and sometimes the family is just not ready to let go, and we see that so much, and that's understandable, because nobody wants to live without the person they've been spending their whole life with. Yeah. I don't even want to think about it. You know, when I think about my loved ones, I can't even bring myself to think about it. It's such a surreal thing to that's why I always pray that my family, as always, remains healthy. And I'll never forget the first patient that passed away on my shift. I hadn't had a patient pass away, but I love this story and this memory because even though it shook me, she passed in peace, and she was like independent and well pretty much up until the day that she passed. So she fell walking in her garden. This elderly 90-something-year-old, she was walking outside, tripped and fell, broke her hip, boom. Ended up with a GI bleed or abdominal, some sort of issue where she probably, lacerated one of her organs internally, and she was losing blood, and she couldn't even communicate to us. But the son of the patient helped articulate her wishes based on conversations they had had in the past, and she was able to pass away without painful measures, and in what I observed as the RN to be comfortable and peaceful. Of course, you never know what the patient experiences, but I'll never forget watching those last agonal beats on the monitor. It just looked like little, like blips on a radar, like very agonal. That's what they call them, agonal beats. It's like the heart is now pushing out its last contractions, and they're so weak that they barely register on the telemetry. But I remember feeling grateful for that day because it gave me a picture of kind of what I wanted my life to look like as I near the end of my life. I want to be independent. I want to be healthy enough to move and not need to be in the hospital. And that is one of the driving forces behind why I love to help people with their own health and my health coaching side of practice and helping manage weight and digestive health. Because if you can get to the point where you are preventing your body from going down an inflammatory path, you can prevent chronic illness. And I wish I was able to go back in time and teach all my patients this and give them like a guidebook on how to live and show them the future if they didn't do it. Sometimes I think about this stuff. But anyway, all right, you guys, that's all I got for now. Love you, and I hope you're doing amazing. I'll see you next time.